Your 30s as a Muslim are when life decides to throw everything at you at once, aren't they? One minute you're celebrating finally having a decent salary, and the next minute you're staring at a halal mortgage application, wondering how anyone actually affords to be an adult inside the deen. Meanwhile, your bank account is getting pulled in 17 different directions like it's some kind of financial piñata. Kids need full-time Islamic school. Your halal mortgage down payment needs another year of saving. Retirement accounts are screaming for attention even though the default 401k options aren't actually halal. Your parents are quietly aging in another country and may need help with medical bills. Zakat anniversary is 6 weeks away, and somehow you're supposed to maintain your sanity through all of it. Here's the thing nobody warns you about when you hit your 30s. Everyone talks about your 20s being the time to figure things out, but your 30s are when you realize you actually need to have figured things out already. The financial decisions you make this decade will either set you up for a barakah-filled future or leave you scrambling to catch up for the next 30 years. My name is Omar, and I help Muslims understand how to build wealth without losing their deen in the process. If you're tired of feeling like your money disappears as fast as you earn it, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you get your financial act together. These 10 milestones aren't judgment calls. They're roadmaps to navigate what can honestly be a pretty overwhelming decade. The first major milestone in your Muslim 30s is eliminating all riba-bearing consumer debt. I'm talking about getting to zero. The only possible exception is your halal mortgage, and even that is one some scholars treat as permissible only under necessity. Everything else needs to go. Credit cards, conventional car payments, the buy now pay later balance from last Eid clothes shopping, the personal loan you took out for the cousin's walima. All of it. Your 30s are your prime earning decade. Salary is likely higher than it's ever been and probably climbing. The last thing you want is riba debt acting like financial quicksand, dragging down every dollar you earn and quietly compounding the very thing the Quran addresses directly. If you're paying $400 a month in credit card minimums and another $600 for a conventional car loan, that's $1,000 every single month flowing into riba structures while your halal investments grow at single-digit rates. Over a decade, that's $120,000 of cash flow funneled into a category your deen forbids. Pay the minimums on time, throw every extra dollar at the highest rate balance using the debt avalanche method, and treat this milestone as non-negotiable. Think about it this way. The brother who walks into his Hajj years from now having paid off every riba balance has a fundamentally different relationship with that obligation than the brother performing Hajj while still carrying a synchrony bank balance from the furniture purchase in 2023. One is showing up clean, the other is bringing baggage that even Mina can't burn off. The avalanche method gets you to clean fastest. The snowball method, where you knock out smallest balances first, is psychologically motivating if you need momentum, even though it costs a few extra dollars in interest. Pick the one that you'll actually finish. The second milestone is achieving an excellent credit score. We're talking 760 plus at minimum, ideally above 800. I can hear some brothers already saying credit scores don't matter if you avoid borrowing on principle. The reality check is that unless you're paying cash for your house, your credit score determines the Profit Rate Guidance Residential (UIF), or the post-merger Lariba platform charges you on a halal contract. On a $400,000 home with an excellent score, you might get a halal equivalent profit rate near 6.5%. Over 30 years, you'll pay roughly $511,000 in profit equivalent cost. Drop your score, and that climbs to 7%, almost $50,000 more for the same house. According to LendingTree, one late payment more than 30 days overdue can drop your score by up to 180 points and stay on your report for 7 years. The Muslim-specific catch is that building credit requires using credit. The standard advice is to keep a couple of credit cards open and pay them off in full monthly. For Muslims who avoid credit cards entirely on principle, this leaves a thin credit file. Workarounds exist, authorized user status on a parent's old card. A secured card used for one subscription and paid in full each month so you never carry a balance or pay interest. Credit builder loans through some credit unions. Get your specific approach reviewed by a scholar, but engineered toward a real score on purpose because the cost of not doing so shows up later as a higher halal mortgage profit rate. The third milestone is putting together a comprehensive halal financial plan for the next 30 years. I know, planning 30 years ahead sounds about as appealing as a root canal, but hear me out. Your 30s are when you start dealing with multiple financial priorities simultaneously, and without a plan, you're playing financial whack-a-mole. The general framework I'd push you toward: first, budgeting and saving toward halal vehicles, meaning you know exactly how much is flowing to the Wahed account, the Zakat reserve bucket, the Sadaqah bucket, and the Hajj fund every payday. Second, retirement planning specifically inside Sharia-screened options. Not just contributing to whatever default the 401k offers, but understanding the holdings and pushing for SDBA where possible. Third, estate planning aligned to foreign distribution shares, with the beneficiary designations and account titling actually matching what Allah specified. Fourth, tax planning to maximize what you keep so you can give more in sadaqah and pay zakat cleanly without scrambling. Fifth, tracking progress quarterly so you adjust before small drifts become major gaps. This is the point where hiring a halal-aware financial planner makes sense, especially if you have multiple income sources, significant assets, or family obligations across borders. A planner familiar with Joe Bradford's framework, AAOIFI standards, and the self-directed brokerage account religious accommodation strategy is worth what you pay them. The fourth milestone is building a bulletproof halal emergency fund. In your 20s, the standard advice was 3 to 6 months of expenses. In your 30s, think bigger. 6 to 12 months of living expenses, more if your income is variable or you're self-employed. Your 30s come with way more potential emergencies. The water heater dies, your kid needs urgent dental work, your aging parents need help with medical bills back home. Or the good kind of emergency, a halal investment opportunity comes along that requires quick liquidity. Keep this money in a non-interest bearing account so you're not stacking riba on top of your safety net. Wahed Cash, a credit union account where you've explicitly opted out of interest crediting, or a basic non-interest bearing checking account all work. You're not trying to get rich off your emergency fund. You're preserving optionality without compromising the deen. The fifth milestone is having 3 times your annual salary saved for retirement by age 40 inside Sharia screened vehicles. The average US 40-year-old earns roughly $62,000, so you should have around $186,000 saved by 40. According to retirement calculators, if you start at that level and continue contributing consistently into screened equity ETFs like HLAL, SPUS, or SPSK, you could have over $2 million by 67. The Muslim-specific catch: if your retirement balance is sitting in the default target date fund inside your 401k, a meaningful chunk is in conventional bonds and bank stocks. The screening problem means many of us are technically meeting the dollar milestone but not actually building the wealth in halal vehicles. Push HR for a self-directed brokerage account option per the framework Joe Bradford and the Zoya team have been advocating for years. Until you have that, contribute up to the match, then redirect the rest into a Roth IRA via Wahed or a self-directed brokerage holding screened equities. The math on 3 times salary by 40 is more achievable than most Muslims assume because most of us are starting our serious accumulation in our late 20s anyway, after a multi-year stretch of student loan payments, halal mortgage down payment saving, or sending money home to parents. If you're 32 right now, sitting on $40,000 in retirement, you have 8 years to roughly quintuple that into the $186,000 target. With consistent contributions topping the 401k match plus an additional $500 a month into a Wahed Roth IRA, screened equities historically get you there. The earlier you commit to that monthly automation, the less heroic the late 30s push has to be. The 6th milestone is what I call lifestyle inflation immunity, and this one separates the wealth builders from the wealth pretenders in our community. Your 30s are prime time for lifestyle creep, and Muslims have a community-specific version of it. You get a raise so suddenly you deserve a nicer car to drive to Jummah. Your bonus comes through, so obviously the next Umrah package needs to be the deluxe tier. Income goes up and somehow walima gifts, aid clothes for the kids, and the new halal restaurant outings rise to meet it. I know brothers in major metros pulling 6 figures who are always broke. They drive $70,000 vehicles, live in apartments that consume 45% of take-home, eat at the new halal steakhouse 3 nights a week, and complain about not saving anything. The secret weapon against lifestyle inflation isn't deprivation, it's automation. Every time your income increases, automatically redirect at least half the raise toward your halal investment accounts and zakat reserve bucket before your brain dreams up new ways to spend it. Got a $5,000 raise? Increase Wahed contributions by $2,500 annually and the rest to your sadaqah and hajj fund buckets. Your future self and your Farid heirs will thank you. And here's the community-specific version. Every time a brother around you upgrades his car, takes a deluxe umrah, or buys the bigger house, your nafs will whisper that you should match it. The anti-network will reinforce that whisper. Ignore both. Your salary going up is not a reason to make decisions that bring you closer to the financial fragility you're trying to escape. The brothers who quietly outperform the community over decades are the ones who absorbed raises into automation, while their peers absorbed raises into lifestyle. The 7th milestone might sound morbid, but is one of the most loving things you can do for your family. Getting getting your Farid-aligned estate planning sorted. If you have kids, a spouse, parents, or significant assets, you need basic documents in place. This isn't planning for death, it's planning for the inevitable transition that the Quran lays out in mathematical detail. The Farid shares are specific. Spouses, parents, sons, daughters, and other relatives each have defined fractions. Most Muslims have not structured their accounts to align with those shares. They leave 401ks with outdated beneficiaries, taxable brokerages without transfer on death designations, and properties titled in ways that conflict with the Quranic ratios. The result is a mess that takes years to untangle and often forces heirs to use US probate courts in ways that ignore Faraid entirely. The fix is a basic Islamic estate plan with a will, beneficiary designations matched to Faraid where possible, and consultation with an attorney familiar with how Islamic inheritance maps onto US law. AMJA and several Islamic estate planning attorneys have written extensively on this. Get one of them and get your scholar's review of the final structure. The 8th milestone is one financial advisors rarely talk about but might be the most important. Investing in your health. Your health is your greatest financial asset, and your 30s are when you either build that asset or start watching it depreciate. The average American spends over $300,000 on healthcare during their lifetime. Reduce that by even 20% through preventive care, sooner-aligned eating, regular movement, and not doing things like smoking, and you've saved yourself $60,000. The Muslim-specific bonus is that the deen already encodes a lot of good habit architecture. Fasting builds metabolic flexibility. The 5 daily prayers force you off your chair to move multiple times a day. Sunnah eating principles, a third food, a third water, a third air, eating before extreme hunger, stopping before satiation, are essentially the modern caloric restriction protocol packaged in 1,400-year-old prophetic guidance. Use what's already there. The financial implication is real. Brothers and sisters who carry their 30s into their 50s in good health get an additional 15 to 20 productive earning years compared to those who let metabolic decline compound. That's the difference between performing Hajj at 55 in strong physical condition versus at 70 needing assistance. It's the difference between being able to lift your grandkids versus watching them play from the couch. Money you spend on a gym membership, quality halal food, and adequate sleep is nothing compared to what you'll spend later trying to fix preventable problems. And it's nothing compared to the years of family life and ibadah you'll lose. The 9th milestone is starting to think seriously about your kids' Islamic education and college savings. College costs have increased at twice the rate of inflation for 30 years. Average 4-year public university costs run over $40,000 a year with room and board. Private schools are closer to $70,000 annually. Layer on top the cost of full-time Islamic schooling K through 12, which in most US metros runs $8,000 to $20,000 per kid per year. The 529 education savings plan is purpose-built for this. The money grows tax-free. Qualified education expenses are tax-free on withdrawal, and many states offer tax deductions for contributions. Some 529 platforms allow self-direction into screened equity mutual funds or ETFs so you can keep the inside halal. Even $50 to $100 a month starting when your kid is young gives 15 to 18 years for compound returns to work. If your kid ends up not needing all the money, you can transfer it to another child, use it for continuing education yourself, or under newer rules roll some of it into a Roth IRA. Run the real math on full-time Islamic schooling versus Sunday-only programs before you commit one way or the other. Full-time K to 12 at $12,000 a year per kid for 2 kids over 13 years is $312,000. More than most US Muslim households will spend on anything except their home and their retirement. That's not a reason to skip it. It's a reason to start saving for it the moment the kids are born, which most families don't, then end up downgrading to Sunday only at age 9 when the cash runs out. The 10th and final milestone is developing what I call halal financial confidence. This isn't about hitting a specific dollar amount, it's about understanding your financial situation well enough to make informed deen-aligned decisions without constantly second-guessing yourself or panicking every time the screened market has a bad day. Halal financial confidence comes from having systems in place, knowing your zakat math, understanding what's in your retirement accounts and whether the holdings are actually screened, having beneficiary designations aligned to Faraid, knowing you can handle whatever financial challenges come your way without reaching for a riba-bearing credit card. It means you're not lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering if you're saving enough or if you can afford the cousin's walema gift. This is when having a comprehensive halal financial plan becomes crucial, not just helpful. You need to understand how all the pieces fit together. Your emergency fund, your screened retirement holdings, your kids' Islamic education savings, your insurance coverage, your Farad-aligned estate documents, your zakat reserve bucket. All of these should work together as a cohesive strategy that adapts as your life circumstances change. Your 30s are essentially your financial prime time as a Muslim. You're earning more than you probably ever have. You have decades for compound returns inside screened equities to work, but you also have more financial responsibilities and competing priorities than ever before. Hajj fund for your parents, kids' Islamic schooling, halal mortgage debate, walima cost for siblings, sadaqah commitments to the masjid, and the looming zakat anniversary that doesn't care whether you're ready. The decisions you make this decade will largely determine whether your 50s and 60s are spent worrying about money or finally being able to give generously, perform Hajj comfortably, and leave a clean, fari distributable estate. Your 30s don't have to be a financial disaster movie. These 10 milestones aren't meant to overwhelm you or make you feel behind. They're a roadmap so you can enjoy your 40s, 50s, and beyond without constantly worrying about whether you can afford retirement, whether your zakat is current, or whether you'll be working until you're 75. The beautiful thing about being in your Muslim 30s is that you still have time to course correct on whichever milestones you're behind on. Beating yourself up about past financial decisions is about as productive as trying to drive while looking only in the rearview mirror. Pick one or two of these milestones that resonate most with your current situation and start there. Maybe it's finally tackling that credit card balance that's compounding riba. Maybe it's opening the Wahid account you've been procrastinating on for 6 months. Maybe it's the basic Islamic estate plan you keep telling yourself is for next year. Small, consistent actions compound just like your screened investments. As always, the math is the math. The scholarly views on specific products and contracts genuinely differ. And your final ruling on credit card workarounds, halal mortgage timing, farid structuring, or any other piece of this has to come from a scholar you trust who knows your specific situation. Pick one milestone today and start. Your future self, your future kids, and the people who'll receive your farid shares one day will thank you for the decisions you make this decade.